That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whips your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
Welcome to Around the Ring, episode 44 for today, Monday. What the fuck month is this? November 23rd, Jesus Christ, 2015, Thanksgiving week. I am your host, Dave Brown, joined with my co-host, back from his assignment deep in Tulsa town, Jason Blackwood. How you doing, sir?
Excellent. Great to be back, Dave.
Yes, glad to have you back. So, hey, it was Survivor Series last night, so we'll just get right into that. What are your, before we kind of go through the card, what are your overall thoughts on the Survivor Series?
Overall, I gave the show a C. It was just there wasn't enough build up to it, especially with the Undertaker and the Wyatt family. I mean, I kind of like that, but it's just, I don't know, mixed thoughts about the show. There was a couple of all right matches, but the ending was about the only thing I really actually cared for, and even that was just, I'm sure we'll get to that eventually, though.
Yeah. My overall thoughts were meh. I mean, it was there. It was, yeah, the build-up really wasn't what it should have been. A lot of it just wasn't what it should have been. It was, I don't know, it was like poor planning. They had a lot of opportunities to do some new things, and they completely dropped the ball. And they just went back to, tried and true WWE tropes, and it was just, it's kind of par for the course with this company. It was wasted potential. You had just great opportunities here for things, and they just flushed them down the toilet. And go ahead.
I was pissed that they relegated Goldust to pre-show. That was bullshit.
I didn't even see the pre-show. I'm not going to lie. Yesterday, I was a bad wrestling fan. I watched like at least 5 hours of Jessica Jones. It just came out on Netflix, and I am a big comic book nerd, and so I've been looking forward to this show. It dropped on Friday. I loved Daredevil. I've enjoyed pretty much all of the Marvel movies. I am a fan of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show. I'm actually a much bigger DC fan, but this dropped, and I started watching it, and I'd watched most of NXT in the morning, and then I remember what happened. I made some food, and since I take notes as I watch wrestling for the show, I don't like to watch wrestling while I'm eating, because I don't want to have my keyboard get nasty with dirty fingers, because that's just gross. So I turned that on, and next thing I know, I'm like, okay, episode 2, 3, 4, 5. I really need to finish watching NXT and watch Ring of Honor. Okay, I'm going to stop this right now. And but then it turned out my daughter had a guinea pig who got sick yesterday, ended up passing away over the night, but we ended up taking him to the vet, and then I had to make dinner, and so it just got to the point I was like, you know what, fuck it, I am not going to even bother trying to watch Survivor Series tonight. I'm just going to watch it in the morning. So I didn't even watch the pre-show. I didn't know anything that happened on it until I was listening to Solomonster's review on his YouTube channel just a little bit ago, and he mentioned that Goldust was in the pre-show, and that, and apparently Cesaro is out for 4 to 6 months with a torn rotator cuff, which really sucks.
Another good guy hitting the injury list.
Jesus, man. And he's as far as singles wrestlers go that weren't injured, he was like my favorite guy. I mean, if you included injuries, he would. I mean, I think Sami Zayn would be above him, but yeah. So I love Cesaro. His match on Raw with Roman Reigns was probably tied for match of the week in my opinion. It was between it and the Kingdom Addiction match on Ring of Honor, which I know you haven't had a chance to see, but if you should, if nothing else, pull up that episode on ROHWrestling.com and fast forward to that, because that match was fantastic. We will talk about that. We'll go over the card later when we get to the Ring of Honor review. But let's go ahead and break down the card. So you saw the pre-show. So what was the pre-show match for those of us who didn't see it?
The pre-show match it had the Usos with because I didn't get to see the actual ending of the match because our feed cut out halfway through the damn match, so I didn't get to see the ending of it. But it had it was heels versus faces, and it had it was Stardust with the Ascension, and I want to say I gotta check my notes, but yeah, and they say they had over on the face side. They played primetime player music, but they didn't have Darren Young come out, which is kind of odd. They had Titus O'Neil come out. Hell, I didn't even write down the notes for the pre-show matches, unimportant as it was. I was just shocked. Goldust come back, and I'm really hoping that they actually end up going, and I want to see them slow build a feud between him and Stardust going into WrestleMania, which is something that a lot of people have wanted for the past 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So hopefully nobody gets injured during this time, which is, I think, what was kind of the plan going towards WrestleMania last year until Goldust ended up getting hurt.
Yeah, so they had that honestly shitty match at Fastlane that was ended up being kind of the blow off of that feud, and then that should have happened at WrestleMania. I completely agree. But in my understanding is, Neville was in that team, and the only babyface to get eliminated was Neville.
Neville? Yeah.
What? Why? Just no. And I guess Bo Dallas was on the heel side.
Yeah, Bo Dallas was on there, and and Miz was on there.
Oh, gross.
Yep.
I freaking do not. Miz is just, ugh. He's so bland and boring that, yeah. I mean, I know, like me, the Miz.
He's pretty shitty in ring. Personally, I think he'd be an all right manager for somebody at some point.
He would be much better at that. Definitely.
Get enough heel heat to really piss a lot of people off. When my hand goes up, your mouth goes shut. Oh, God.
Yeah, he is very good at getting heel heat. He is very, very good at that.
Punchable faces, he's up there at the top of the list.
Punchable faces. He does have a face you just want to take off. So yeah, so that happened, and then you didn't see the end of the match. I didn't see the end of the match. No one fucking cares, because it was a match that wasn't announced. That was this whole card. We had Raw on last Monday, and the only things for sure that we knew were going to happen at Survivor Series was the semifinals and finals of the WWE World Heavyweight Title Tournament. 2 members of the Wyatt family were going to go against the Brothers of Destruction, Charlotte against Paige, and some elimination match, but no one knew who the F was going to be in it.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous, especially because, with it being Survivor Series, it's the damn paper, it's the match that the pay-per-view is being sold for. So, like, you'd expect them to have some kind of, build up towards that. And me and my buddy were speculating last night, and we were kind of thinking maybe that the whole Wyatt family and the Brothers of Destruction thing, maybe Sting was supposed to play out somehow in some way, but maybe he failed a physical early on, and they just went ahead and said, fuck it, we're just going to do the Brothers of Destruction and 2 of the Wyatt family, which still really doesn't make sense. That would have been a hell of a Survivor Series match, though.
Oh, yeah, it was. I'd really been hoping that was going to somehow turn into an actual Survivor Series match, and it would have been a lot better. I mean, I think, but we'll actually get to that match here in a minute. But it would have, Sting being part of that. I don't really know who else you'd bring in. I mean, I saw graphics of Finn Balor because of, his demon entrance, but it's not time for Finn to come up to the main roster. He needs to stay in NXT for a lot longer, in my opinion, and until he needs to stay there until either one of a couple things happen. One, the people on the main roster can figure out how to actually book shit right. Two, they get some more people signed to help NXT as a touring brand, which I know is something they want to do. But right now, with Sami Zayn being out, with the 3 of the 4 Horsewomen being on the main roster, with Kevin Owens being on the main roster, with all of that, they've lost a lot of people, and they haven't had a chance yet to really build up new people. And there are rumors of people that have been signed or possibly been signed, but we'll talk more about NXT later. But yeah, Finn Balor, it wasn't his time. Had Sting been able to compete, you could have done a 4-on-3, and that would have been very cool. We finally would have gotten the moment of Sting and Undertaker in the ring together, because they don't have to fight each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, the just build up for the Survivor Series sucks, and this is one of the big 4. You talk about WWE's big 4 events being WrestleMania, SummerSlam, the Royal Rumble, and Survivor Series. Now, of those, Survivor Series has lost the most luster over the years and is really the least important. But considering the entire point of the Survivor Series pay-per-view was to screw Jim Crockett and just mess up Starrcade. That was the entire point. The entire reason this was put together. They did it on the same night as Starrcade.
And then I want to say they told pay-per-view providers that if they play that Vince McMahon told them that if they play that product, that they're not going to be able to air WrestleMania the following year. Maybe another pay-per-view, Starrcade I'm thinking about, or something like that.
Yeah, no, Vince did go to them and say, hey, if you carry this, you're not going to be able to carry WrestleMania. And then, interestingly, what had happened is the cable providers basically went to both WWE and Crockett and said, "Hey guys, you're not ever putting two pay-per-views on the same night again. Screw this crap. We are not." And at that point, which is good, the cable companies put their foot down and said, "No, we're not playing your damn games."
I've been reading The Death of WCW, and it's pretty damn good. I don't know if you checked it out, but you should if you haven't got to read that yet.
No, but I did watch the documentary that WWE put out about the rise and fall of WCW, which was fascinating.
It's great.
Yeah, I enjoyed the heck out of that. So the show then opens with Lillian Garcia doing the national anthem. She's a good singer, but the entire time that was going on, I just was sitting there thinking, why? Is this because the whole Paris thing? I was like, she's singing the national anthem. Why?
Well, did you hear anything about ISIS attacking Survivor Series, supposedly?
Yes, there were all those rumors that ISIS was going to show up and attack, and that shit was funny. Yeah, and apparently the rumors came from Anonymous, and then Anonymous was like, that wasn't us. Yeah, that was interesting. They weren't going to show up. I think everyone knew that they weren't going to show up. It wouldn't... Of all of the events that you're going to hit, there were, and I say only, there were 14,000 people in that arena. You could hit a football game and have and make a much bigger impact. You could do a different, a Royal Rumble, WrestleMania type event, and have a much bigger impact than doing, hitting Survivor Series, because that just wasn't a very big event, really.
there were pictures I seen on Twitter of people that were posting security guards outside, and it was army guys like packing AKs and stuff like that, just to make sure that nothing went crazy or anything like that.
Well, that's kind of not surprising, and in a way, it's kind of a good thing that they didn't screw around with it. Of all of the times to take a threat pretty seriously, this is probably one of the better times to do that. Just saying. Not that I am really pro shows of force and all that kind of hoo-ha, but it makes sense. It's much better that they were safe rather than sorry, because if they hadn't done anything, and then some fool does show up and kills a bunch of people, no, that would have, just, first of all, it would have been awful because people would have been killed and all, but second, it would have been a PR nightmare for WWE, and they hate those. So then we had the opening match was, and this actually surprised me. I figured that either the Dean Ambrose Kevin Owens match would open or the Tyler Breeze Dolph Ziggler match opened, but no, we got Roman Reigns versus Alberto Del Rio. Tell you what, when Roman Reigns hit, you totally got it was the perfect crowd reaction for the rest of the night, because it was a smattering of cheers and boos mixed with a whole bunch of we don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and the match itself, I don't know, they didn't give a lot of these matches time, Dave. And I always complain about that, but it's just, I don't know. This match wasn't too bad for what it was worth. Cool little spot where Reigns went for that spear and Alberto Del Rio just kicked the hell out of him. That was great.
Yeah, it's funny, man. Poor Del Rio he came in with a whole lot of fire, being, fresh back from his time in AAA and in the Indies, and he had a lot of momentum, there was a lot of shock when he showed up, and, he's all super ripped now, and people were actually giving a crap about him, and since then, it has been like crickets. And I think the teaming of him with Zeb Coulter was a horrible idea. Zeb is great. He's hilarious. Alberto Del Rio is really good on his own. He's especially good when he's not in WWE. Putting them together, this crazy redneck old man who is a xenophobe, or at least his character is, with an outspoken Mexican. Yeah, that'll work.
Yeah, it's weird. I was actually reading something on Reddit the other day, and somebody was like, Jack Swagger should actually come back with Ricardo Rodriguez just because no reason at all. It should be hilarious.
That would be. And you know what? They even wasted an opportunity because not that anything's going on with Swagger, because there's just nothing to do with him at this point, but they had on that one Raw where he approached Coulter and was like, hey, what the hell? And that never turned into a match. Yeah, we don't need an extended Jack Swagger, Alberto Del Rio program, but something,
It's going to end up turning into a match at TLC. I can almost tell you that, because they're kind of teasing a little bit of a feud, because Jack Swagger's done a couple of run-ins on him on SmackDown. So
okay, yeah, and I have not been watching SmackDown lately. Unless I hear about something just spectacular happening on SmackDown, I tend to not watch it. As, I watch so many other things other than wrestling. You know how many, just on an aside note, this is how much of a nerd I am, how many shows I religiously follow. I've got Gotham, Supergirl, which I still haven't watched last week's episode, Arrow, The Flash, Supernatural, The Vampire Diaries. When it comes out, I will follow Lucifer and Preacher, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and I am now binge watching Jessica Jones. So that's like 11. So that on top of 3 hours of Raw, an hour of NXT, an hour of Ring of Honor, and it's like, nah, I'm just not going to bother with SmackDown.
And you have a job, and you have family and stuff. So
Exactly.
I totally, I understand with you on that one. 100%.
Yeah. So let's see. So I thought this was a boring match. Del Rio got no reaction when he came out. Though I will say, I think had Del Rio won that match, I think the place would have gone apeshit out of shock alone. And the other thing I noticed, at one point, Del Rio had Reigns in the corner, and he was, standing on the middle rope, and he was punching Reigns, and those were some stiff shots, because you could just hear them bouncing off of his head.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, Reigns is getting the piss beat out of him tonight. Because you know what? If it comes down to a real fight, Del Rio is going to beat up damn near everyone in that locker room. Because that man can go for reals. And I have no question in my mind that if this was a real fight, he would F up Roman Reigns' pretty face.
Oh, yeah. He was an MMA fighter. I actually took some time this weekend, and I watched a couple of his MMA fights. I seen one that he won, and I seen one that he lost in about a minute. He got kicked right in the head. But it's funny because if you watch some of his MMA stuff, he doesn't come out as Alberto Del Rio, Del Patron. He actually was coming out as Dos Caras Jr., and he'd come out wearing a lucha mask for an MMA fight.
And that was a long time ago, right? It was
a while back, yeah, for sure. I wouldn't say it was even before he was doing WWE stuff.
Because apparently back in the day, he was, even when he was a luchador wrestler in Mexico, he wrestled for years with a mask. I'm just thinking the more and more I watch him in WWE, the more I think it was... I understand him coming back financially. It's going to be the best move for him, most likely. And it's a combination of best move and probably the easiest amount of work, as far, not as much as maybe the schedule is concerned, though maybe he got a lighter schedule in his contract. But as far as, you don't have to worry about finding jobs all the time. When you're an independent wrestler, even if you're working for a AAA or a Ring of Honor or a New Japan Pro Wrestling, you're also getting gigs everywhere you can. The Lucha Underground guys all work in other places. Shoot, Ricochet is right now teaming with Matt Sydal in New Japan, and holy crap, they're a good team. So you can be in these other promotions, but that's only one of your paychecks. Adam Cole works in PWG. Hell, half of Ring of Honor works in PWG. So they are hitting up all these different places. So maybe at this point in Del Rio's life, because there's probably part of him that is thinking, they're probably going to fuck this up. I've got a lot of momentum, but it's one easy paycheck, and I can spend more time with my family. That's got to outweigh things.
It's going to suck not having him on Lucha, though.
Yeah, he was so good on Lucha Underground. That feud he had with Johnny Mundo. And it'll be interesting to see how they explain that away of him, no longer being there. All right, so Reigns got the win. Shocker. And then we had JoJo did a backstage interview with Roman Reigns, which was interrupted by Dean Ambrose. Had some more bromance moments, which was then... and they were kind of laying the seeds of, you could see a potential heel turn. And then it was interrupted by Kevin Owens, and it just... Poor Reigns, man, he stumbled over his words a little bit. He's getting better on the mic, but he's still not great. Kevin Owens comes up and just makes him look like a bitch.
This is what Kevin Owens does on people on the mic.
If you could merge, if you could put Kevin Owens in-ring ability, his mouth and everything, basically if you could take his head and put on Roman Reigns' body, Vince McMahon would be creaming all over the place, because he would have just everything he ever wanted. He'd have a perfect talker, a great in-ring worker, and the body he loves.
Exactly.
Yeah. So then we had Dean Ambrose versus Kevin Owens. Ambrose got a pretty good pop coming out, one of the better ones. There were lots of, throughout the match, "Let's go Ambrose," followed by "Fight Owens, fight" chants. I liked that. There was one point where this is one of the reasons why I love Kevin Owens. At one point, Kevin Owens is getting frustrated. He looks over to Michael Cole. He says, "Cole, tell him to stay down, damn it."
Yeah.
That I laughed so hard. Even though I will say that wasn't the funniest thing of the night, but we'll get to that in a minute. Ambrose won. It was a really good match. Not the best match I think the two of those could have. I think we're gonna down the road. I think we're gonna get an Ambrose Owens feud, which I think could be really good. Though now I'm conflicted because what I really want is I want Owens to hold on to the title through until WrestleMania, and at the Royal Rumble, I want him to be eliminated by Sami Zayn, setting up a feud that will end with the two of them at WrestleMania, with Zayn winning the Intercontinental Championship. I think that would be a hell of a way to keep elevating the title. It would really put both of them over, and it would be a satisfying, at least temporary end to this feud that started back at in NXT and years before that in Ring of Honor.
Just go off track for a second.
Yeah.
Do you think Sami Zayn's done with NXT at this point?
I think so. I think it's pretty safe to say that when he comes back, he is going to go to the main roster, because the spot that Kevin Owens has right now was intended for Sami Zayn. They were going to bring him up, and then he got hurt. His shoulder just was like, nope, fuck it, I'm done. And it ended up going to Owens. So I think so, and I think it would be, as much as I want to see Sami Zayn back in NXT, as much as I want to see all of my favorite wrestlers in NXT, it would be such an amazing opportunity and such an amazing moment for him to come out and him to take this feud with Kevin Owens to the main roster. Because you talk about people that have potential star power, and right now there's all this talk, especially I was listening to last Monday's Don Tony and Kevin Castle show, and Kevin Castle is just going off about Roman Reigns being great and there are no stars and all this and that, and saying that they don't see anyone, maybe Finn Balor can be the next big star. And I look at things, and I see Sami Zayn as being the next just humongous star. I think really, if they don't screw it up, he and Bayley could be two of the biggest baby faces of the next 20 years, because they are so beloved by the crowds, and they can easily get crowds behind them, and they're going to always be underdogs, so it's not going to be a situation where, like that Roman Reigns is in, that it just feels so forced and people turn on him. So I think Sami is going to come back to the main roster. I think that's where they wanted him to go. For Pete's sake, he'd been in NXT for like 3 years. He's a 15-year veteran. If NXT was only just a developmental brand, had it not turned into something else, it was kind of ridiculous for him to be there as long as he was. Really, I mean, but that's what it is, and I'm glad he was there, because we had some amazing matches. One of my favorite matches of all time, when he finally won the NXT title from Neville. That match brought me to tears. I loved it. So I think he will. It's time to pull the trigger on the guy. I mean, if not now, when? But yeah, so what did you think of the Ambrose Owens match?
It was good, because these guys can straight up go, and love the way there was a spot where Kevin Owens went for the pop up power bomb, and Ambrose just countered it and went in for that leg and just damn near took his head off. I loved it. That was such a good spot.
That was a good spot. That was a very good spot.
When Ambrose lays that clothesline, man, you can hear that clothesline.
Yeah,
You hear him hit on him hard too.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he can nail a clothesline. I really hope at some point in the next year or so, they pull the trigger on him and give him the title, because he's the fans still love him, and he has gotten over organically, and so it just would make sense, which of course means that they're not going to do it. So then there was a little vignette about the Undertaker's debut and some of the interviews that JBL did, which I still haven't watched, about the Undertaker with HBK, Triple H, and Steve Austin. Had you watched any of those?
I did. You should go back. They're pretty good. They got a lot of stories. A lot of backstage stories about how impossible it is to try to make Undertaker laugh and to try to, because he was a part of the I think it's called Wrestler's Court, and he was basically like the judge, the jury, and the executioner. And like if there was any kind of like problems going on in the back or anything like that, he was the one who would say, okay, so here's what we're going to do, here's the punishment, stuff like that. And JBL had all kinds of nice stories. HBK had all kinds of cool stories. He had he had some little group backstage called like the Bone Street Crew or something like that, and it was like him and like Rikishi and like the Godfather and stuff. And basically it was kind of like a play on like the Clique whenever they had Triple H and HBK and all them, and they were just basically just guys that sat back there and played dominoes, and they just called them the Bone Street Crew. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, that was the anti-Clique. It was they kind of came together in reaction to the Clique apparently back in the day. Okay, I'll have to go check that out. I'll need to actually do that before I had to cancel my WWE Network subscription because we are hella broke right now. So I will have to watch that before the end of this month so I can. I will find other ways to keep up with everything, though, folks. Don't you worry, loyal listeners here of the Around the Ring show. Yeah, all 5 of you. I kid. Okay,
there's more than enough ways to keep up with product.
Oh, indeed. Thankfully, next up we had the traditional Survivor Series elimination tag team match with Ryback, the Lucha Dragons, and the Usos against the New Day, Sheamus, and King Barrett. So, first of all, Xavier Woods' hair.
That perm was amazing.
That was.
Right.
That was. But then I have to give the funniest moment of the night to Sheamus. That part where he grabbed the mic from Big E and said, "Let's get jiggy with it," and they all just stood there and looked at him. I was laughing so hard it was giving me a headache. That was incredible.
You're talking about Sheamus, right?
Do what?
Are you talking about Sheamus?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Sheamus?
Yes.
Yes, that was great.
Oh my god.
They all just kind of looked at him like, what the hell's your problem, dude?
Like, no, we told you about this. And then the part where when King Barrett was dancing with the New Day, that was great.
They were all just kind of sitting there. He was just kind of getting it with them. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. I loved this teaming. I thought this was great. The match was pretty good, but it was probably the most entertaining entire segment of the evening. Which, go figure, New Day's out there. It's the most entertaining thing. Eventually, the winners were Ryback, Kalisto, and Jey Uso, and it did take all 3 of them hitting a variety of moves to get the pin on Sheamus. As once Big E was eliminated, the rest of New Day just all left. So yeah, I guess because this happened last year when Big Show knocked out John Cena and just left the ring. They didn't bother to do a 10 count. They were just like, oh, he's gone. I guess we're just going to continue.
What pisses me off is last year's Survivor Series actually meant something. This Survivor Series didn't mean a damn thing. They just threw a bunch of heels and faces together, and thankfully you had New Day out there to entertain everybody. And there was good spots in the match, but I mean, God, it pisses me off when they don't have these Survivor Series matches. They don't mean anything. Like it's
yeah,
the damn Survivor Series. Make it mean something.
Yeah, but they don't anymore. Yeah. So there was that. It was overall, I thought it was pretty fun. We then had Paige versus Charlotte for the Divas title. My whole thing with this is I thought this match was very disappointing. I thought it was pretty boring. And I think it would have been 1,000 times better down in Full Sail. Had this been in NXT, it would have been a killer match. This was boring, and the crowd, like they did most of the night, did not give two shits.
Yeah, and then there was a spot where Charlotte went for that spear on Paige, and she just looked like she was scared to take that bump. I mean, could have been that potential to be an awesome spot, but I mean, I don't know what the hell. I mean, and these two girls they can actually go, so I don't see what the problem is. Maybe it was a botch or I don't know what the hell it was, but I mean, like my friend pointed that out last night that one of them looked like they were kind of scared to take that bump on that mat outside, which that's kind of a nasty bump, but I mean,
yeah. That was the part where Paige had gotten up on the guardrail and was standing there, or on the barricade, and then Charlotte jumped up on there and gave her a spear. Yeah, that was not a good-looking spot. That just did not work. So that was a shame. That was very disappointing. And who knows where we go with the whole Divas division going forward. But yeah, that's about all I can say about that. We had real quick, what were your thoughts on the whole promo invoking the name of Reed Flair from last Monday?
It was terrible taste, and I was like, really? I can't believe they actually fucking said that. And like, it kind of took me back, and I know a lot of people made comparisons to this, and really, it took me back to whenever I got right back into wrestling, and Undertaker and CM Punk was going to have their match at WrestleMania, and Paul Heyman and CM Punk kind of, right after Paul Bearer had died, basically mocked him, like leading up to WrestleMania to piss Undertaker off and to start a feud with him to going into WrestleMania. And but from what I understand, they actually had, they had permission from Paul Bearer's family to do something like that. And from what I'm understanding on this, I've heard that Charlotte had pitched it, and now I'm hearing that she didn't. Ric Flair is pissed off about it, and not only that, but the guy died 2 years ago, and it was of a drug overdose. And his dad was the one that found him in the hotel room. So it was just really poor taste, and they're doing just such a shitty job. They just need to come out and say, our bad, we fucked up, we shouldn't have let her go out and say this.
Yeah, well, apparently they didn't, in all the vignettes last night, they did not mention that part was cut out. They didn't mention that at all. The original reports were that Charlotte proposed it. Then on Ric Flair's podcast, it was brought up that no, she didn't. It was not her idea. It was someone else's idea. It apparently was taken out of the script at one point, and Vince put it back in. It was just, it was in poor taste, I thought. And then when I listened to this last week's Wrestling Soup episode, when they were talking about it, Joey Numbers had an interesting point that I hadn't thought of, but once he mentioned it, I kind of agreed with it. That it was in bad taste, but what was kind of worse about it is they did nothing to build it up. So a lot of the people in that crowd are going to have no idea what in the hell they're talking about. Because if you're going to take the time to do something that dastardly and to get your heel over by just being a straight up a-hole, let's at least have the majority of the crowd know what the hell you're talking about. And I think probably a lot of people there that night, this is what Joey Numbers was saying, that they probably had no idea what they were talking about. And they're right, had, again, terrible build-up for this. Had part of Charlotte's story been, I'm trying to do this for my brother, blah, 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 then, okay, it would have actually had some impact. The way it happened, it was just out of the blue. For those who knew, were like, wow, that was a shitty thing to say. And it just didn't work. Apparently Ric Flair didn't know. Charlotte's and Reed's mom didn't know. No one knew. And that's pretty effed up. It was another bad booking decision, and which was sad because, last Monday's Raw was overall pretty darn good. It was the third or fourth week in a row where Raw was actually really entertaining. But that whole segment was just kind of stupid.
Yeah, it was just really bad taste, Dave. I seen it and I was just like, man, and like, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was kind of like, I was really tired and I watched Raw really late that night. I was watching Raw late that night and I was kind of falling asleep and I had caught that one little part and that just completely woke me up and I was like, wow. I had to go back and rewatch that segment again and I was like, did that really just happen? So I had to go back and rewatch it and it was just like, man, that was bad taste. Really bad.
I agree. We then had Dean Ambrose getting interviewed backstage. Roman came in, more bromance. Then we had the Tyler Breeze Dolph Ziggler match. They didn't, just no crowd reaction really for Breeze when he came out. An okay little, pretty decent little pop for that night for Ziggler. And
that's what happens when you have a guy debut on SmackDown on a show that nobody fucking watches.
Yeah.
Zero reaction.
Exactly. And then his first match on Raw, he loses.
Exactly.
And I had no problems with him being in the title tournament. None. I thought that was, breath of fresh air, new guy in there. That's great. But having that be his first match on Raw, to then, to eat a pin, that just was no. This was an okay match. I don't know. I felt a little cheated. It should have been better.
Yeah, it was kind of a blah kind of match. Wasn't anything really spectacular going on. I mean, there was one. I mean, it wasn't even really that great of a spot, and it was just the way Dolph Ziggler's soul just getting slammed on the bottom rope, and he just kind of fell and acted like he broke his damn neck. That was funny.
That was the most brutal spot in the whole match. That was one of the few moments that the crowd actually woke up. But yeah, that was good. And Breeze won, which is he should have won that match with the unprettier. And one thing I like about Breeze is he's got 3 different finishing moves he can use. He can beat you with a super kick, which he doesn't do often enough. Then he's got the supermodel kick, which is kind of lame, and then the unprettier, which is also kind of lame, but definitely it looks like it hurts more than the supermodel kick. I think a super kick to me is one of the. It's like, okay, so in boxing, you get punched in the jaw in the right spot, you're unconscious, and I look at a super kick like that. You hit someone with a super kick in the right spot, they're done.
Problem is that and I hate saying this, and I love the Young Bucks, but man, it's kind of an overused spot in the Indies right now, and it's taken away the effect of the super kick.
Well, it's not just the Indies. It's used all over the place. If you think about in WWE alone, how many guys use super kicks at different points?
You got KO using it. You got Del Rio using it as a finisher.
Luke
Harper for sure. It's just, I don't know. I don't know if it's a good move, and I love it, especially whenever it's kind of like an out of nowhere super kick. Those are the best ones. But it's just, I would love to just see kind of like how you're saying that it's a devastating move and it should be used as a finisher. I feel like.
Yeah, I much prefer it to a spear. I think it's a much more devastating move than a spear.
Yeah, it depends on who's doing the spear, though. Because, Roman Reigns can actually, when he wants to, that dude can actually lay down a pretty damn good spear.
Well, I would hope so, considering he played football.
And that's where I think that a lot of it comes from, is he knows exactly how to hit that like perfect looking spear. It looks like he's freaking like a car wreck sometimes.
Yeah.
Right into him.
I still think Goldberg, back, especially when he first started in WCW, he had about the meanest looking spear, and part of that was because he was so completely green, and he was cutting people in half. He would just
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was such an awesome looking move then. And Moose has a pretty good spear, and I like the little flip thing he does at the end. Yeah. And plus he's just like, Sasquatch. But yeah, that match was a match. We then had the thing that really I think most people there wanted to see, because the crowd was nuts for this the entire time. The Wyatts versus Kane and the Undertaker. So the entire family came out. Kane came out, and then the Undertaker's music hit. And I love the little spot where Kane's just standing there waiting for the Undertaker in his 18-minute long entrance, which I fast-forwarded through part of. But the part where, Kane did his whole raising his hands and bringing them down to bring up the fire, and that, brought up a whole bunch of fire for the Undertaker, that was cool. I liked that.
That Taker's entrance, that was a really good entrance, especially when they had on the Titantron. I think it was like an actual, a big wood box that was like a coffin, and it just had, all of his, past versions of the Undertaker. It was freaking awesome.
That was cool. That was cool. They did a good job. They went all out, making this entrance look special. And so before the match started, Eric Rowan ran in and got hit with a double choke slam and then left. He disappeared the rest of the night. And the team ended up being Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper, which is the way it should have gone. If it wasn't if it was going to be Wyatt with someone, it needed to be Wyatt and Harper, because of that family. Wyatt and Harper are easily the best wrestlers. I would probably say Harper is the best of all of them. But you don't want to put Strowman in there. You put Rowan in there if he's teaming with Harper, because they have great chemistry together. But really, this feud is Bray Wyatt, who's the head of this family, with the Undertaker. So you gonna put fucking Rowan and Harper in there? No, people would be pissed.
Well, see, I watched SmackDown Thursday, and last Thursday, and they had announced on SmackDown that it was going to be Undertaker and Kane versus Strowman and Wyatt. That was going to be the match. And so when I see Luke Harper coming out, I was kind of like, "Whoa, what the hell happened with Braun Strowman?" They just switched him kind of out of nowhere. It was so weird of a booking decision that they did that. I went back and I watched it, and they said, "Yeah, we're gonna have this match," and then they ended up having it was. Still was a good match overall, but it was just weird that they had announced that, and then they kind of went another direction.
Yeah, I think the best thing about this match was the fact that Undertaker hit almost all of his classic moves. He actually looked really good, the best of the matches he's had in the last few years, I think. I think the fact that he's wrestled more this year has really helped him a lot, getting rid of that ring rust and everything. It was a fun match. Undertaker and Kane won, which is the way I think everyone expected it to be. Luke Harper ate the pin, even though when Undertaker had him up for the tombstone, I was starting to wonder if he was going to be able to hold him. Because Luke Harper is not a small man.
Oh yeah, Luke Harper is a freaking size of a Boeing jet.
But yeah, I think overall it was fun. I liked at the end the ovation that Undertaker got. The crowd, this is the only time they were really just losing it. I thought maybe for a minute Sting would come out and say, "Hey, you and me, we got to do this at WrestleMania, our last match," but no, that didn't happen. And if this is it for Undertaker, it's a good way for him to go out. They really played this up like this was it. And it would be fitting he debuted at Survivor Series for him to end at Survivor Series.
Yeah, definitely. It's just, I wouldn't want to see it go down like this. I want to see him have one more last match at Mania.
Yeah, but against who? John Cena?
Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing another Bray Wyatt Undertaker match. I wouldn't mind seeing it again, honestly. But I think this time around that they got a little bit more chemistry, and they could probably put on a better match than what they did last year.
Especially with just the fact that Taker has wrestled more. I think that would make a big difference. Because I really think he's been better this year because he started at WrestleMania and then did all the stuff with Lesnar, had those couple matches with him, and now had this. This is his like fourth match this year, and for the last few years he's only had one a year, and he's gotten. I think it's just helped him out a lot. But yeah, the thing is with the whole thing, it's going to be in Texas, which is his home, and they're trying to fill that 100,000 seat arena, and Bray Wyatt versus the Undertaker is not going to put butts in seats. Undertaker versus Sting would be a marquee kind of match. Undertaker versus Cena. For your casual fans, that's more of a marquee match. But this plays into the fact that WWE for 10 years has done a shitty job building people. They got it in their head that they have this archetype of characters of, they want their John Cena, Randy Orton, Batista looking like guys. And Batista left to go do other things, and they just rested way too much on John Cena. And at the expense of everything else, they shunned all the rest of wrestling of indie wrestlers until really, it was CM Punk and Daniel Bryan that kind of broke through that, and that now they have really embraced the indies with NXT and everything, and have seen success. So I think going forward, they're gonna have a nice crop of talent that they're going to be able to build and everything. But right now, if they're wanting to break their attendance record from WrestleMania 3, that shit ain't happening. That I just, even with Sting Undertaker, which there's a part of me that really wants to see that, but then there's the Sting fan of me that's like, dude, I do not want this guy to lose every single pay-per-view match he has in his WWE career. I know based on that, the documentary that he did, like, he really thought that match with Triple H was his last match, and he was completely fine going out jobbing, because that's what you did. He's an old school guy. When you're done, you job on your way out.
Go out on your back.
Right. So, and if it's WrestleMania, if it's Undertaker versus Sting, there is no way in hell that Vince McMahon is going to have Sting go over. Just none. Would Taker lay down for Sting? I don't know. That's the other thing. And Taker has has enough pull. He doesn't have it in his contract where he can say, no, I'm not going to do that. But he is enough guts to just stand up and just say, fuck you. I'm not going to do that. Unlike a lot of people, which is a big problem, the fact that so much of the roster is scared to do or say anything against, because you don't want to, God forbid, as Vince McMahon says, don't piss anyone off. So they don't want to do that. So we'll, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. I think they've really painted themselves into a corner, and I guess we'll see what happens. But that brings us to the main event. Roman Reigns against Dean Ambrose in the finals of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship Tournament. Another beautifully mixed reaction to Roman Reigns coming out. I almost felt bad for these guys after the crowd just losing their mind for this Undertaker match. To have to follow that up, that's got to suck.
There was really there wasn't really a cool down match after that, which is kind of weird. There normally is a cool down match to go between the main event and the match that they know is going to set the house on fire. So.
Right. Ambrose got a decent little pop. This was a pretty good match. It wasn't a fantastic match, but it was another match. I kept looking at the time as I'm watching this. I'm like, there's another 15 minutes. What? And I was expecting a heel turn, and there was a spear out of nowhere. Reigns won. Ambrose hugged him, and Reigns did a really good job of actually portraying emotion. Like, I can't believe I'm finally here, which they've done a really shitty job with him building up how important this is to him. Again, the build up to this sucked. Then all the confetti cannons go off, which actually made it really hard to see.
There was a lot of confetti, wasn't there?
That was, and I keep thinking to myself, man, you can't keep telling the fans to love this guy and expect them to love him if they don't. And then Triple H came out, offered to shake Roman's hand, and Roman goes to walk off, and I was like, well, that's kind of shitty. I mean, I know Triple H is, in character, is a douche and all, but and then he hit the spear. He speared Triple H, speared the crap out of him,
and I marked for that so hard, Dave.
That was a cool moment. And then
I was watching it with a couple of buddies. We all marked for it. It was great.
Yeah, that was a cool moment. And then the I told you. And then there's Sheamus.
Oh my gosh!
Hits a bro kick.
Oh.
Says he's cashing in. Gives Little Nate the briefcase. Little Nate is saying, hey, ring the bell. Lillian has to get on the mic, and the ref, he's like, tells him to ring the bell like 5 times before they finally do. He goes for the pin. Roman kicks out. One thing I will say in this match that I really liked is, I know that they have gotten to this point in their booking which WWE is not having people kick out of finishers, and I'm fine with that, except in kind of more extreme cases, longer matches, big deal matches, you want people to kick out of finishers. So in the Reigns Ambrose part of it, Ambrose kicked out of the spear, and Reigns kicked out of Dirty Deeds. So to show how much of a big deal this was, I thought that was great. And then so Roman kicks out of the first bro kick, which the bro kick is one of the most protected moves in WWE. And Sheamus looks like he's livid. He's like, how can this be? Gets up, and they hit the ropes. Bro kick. Sheamus wins. Much to everyone's chagrin, even though the crowd just didn't care. I honestly think then Triple H gets in the ring. He shakes Sheamus's hand. They hug. He raises his hand, and at one point there's Sheamus is standing over Roman's body with his foot on Reigns' chest, and Triple H is holding up his hand, and the camera gets these massive close-ups on Reigns' face, and he's just about in tears. The most emotion we've ever seen out of this guy, which was good. And that's it.
Yeah, and it's funny, I almost spoiled it for you last night when I emailed you, Dave, because you emailed me right as soon as the pay-per-view was over with.
Thank you for not spoiling it.
And I was going to be like, what the fuck did you think of this shit, man? And you were like, I haven't watched it yet. I was like, oh, dude, I'm just going to leave it for tomorrow then, man.
Yeah. So what were your initial thoughts to this ending?
Like, I love the whole thing. I mean, it was all right. Like, I love the part where, Reigns speared Triple H. And, I mean, it was a nice little, like, it wasn't just straight bro kick 1, 2, 3, because that would have been, it would have been just like, blah, whatever. I like the whole little exchange that they had at the end. It was nice. And, like, whenever that confetti was going, there was a small camera, they kind of panned to the side, and all I seen was the shade of white. And I was like, oh, no. And I just seen him nail him with that bro kick, and then he hit him with that second one. I was like, please hit him with the spear. Please hit him with the spear. Nope, bro kick. And I was like, 1, 2, 3, no. I was like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And it was funny. I seen somebody on Reddit post. They were like, they said Sheamus went from getting jiggy with it to being the world champion at the end of the night.
That was still the best moment of the goddamn show, man. Getting jiggy with it. I could watch that over and over and laugh. Oh my God, that was amazing. And that was like some of the most personality we've ever seen out of Sheamus ever. Sheamus as a comedy character, being the ultra super white guy playing next to the New Day, that has potential right there. Of course, we're not going to get that because now he is the Authority's poster boy, which for Vince McMahon, for the longest time, has had a major boner for Sheamus. I don't know why. Well, okay, I do know why, because he fits the body type mold that Vinnie Mac likes. Forget the fact that no one gives two shits about Sheamus. The crowd really didn't react a whole lot to this. I think it was... I don't think anyone seriously expected Sheamus holding Money in the Bank to end up him becoming the champion. So I think there was a bit of shock in the crowd. I think there was a lot, probably
on my part.
Yeah, because no one saw that coming. My thought, though, as I'm watching this, especially watching the reaction to Reigns, I thought, there might be actually some method to this madness, because if you want to turn Roman Reigns into a sympathetic character, watch him get his dreams ripped out from his hands not even 5 minutes after it happens.
This reminds me a whole lot. Like I was telling my friend this last night right after it ended. Reminds me a whole lot of Daniel Bryan from a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And the difference, though, is at that point Daniel Bryan was already beloved by the crowd, and he was a legitimate underdog. But this, I think, can help Roman Reigns. Because let's if we think about the Reigns character and when he has done the best was, one, when he was in the Shield, and they were just, as both baby faces and heels, the unstoppable force. Then in the 2013 Royal Rumble, when he eliminated those 12 people, and it was kind of out of nowhere, and people were still wanting Daniel Bryan to show up, but he didn't. But it was like this, holy crap, Roman Reigns he could win this thing. And then there was a whole please not Batista reaction. But then when the Shield breaks up, and he starts getting pushed to the moon and gets near the title, people start shitting on him, and they're like, nope, you are the chosen one. We do not want to be told what we're supposed to like. And that's Roman Reigns' biggest problem is everyone knows he is the one that Vince McMahon loves, and that fans feel like, look, we don't want to be told what it is that we're supposed to like, so we don't like Roman Reigns being shoved down our throat. So he ends up getting to WrestleMania and loses, and that helped him big time. It would have been awful for him to have won that title then. But then you go to Money in the Bank, and if you remember back to the moment when he is climbing the ladder, he's about to get the briefcase before Bray Wyatt hit the ring and stopped him from doing it. The place rained boos down upon him. It's like fans, they like seeing Roman Reigns in good matches. They like him being in the upper mid card, but it's like, no, we don't want him as champion yet. And then his build up to this, it was at the point in this crowd, it was just like they were kind of dead no matter what. But it's also to the point where they're like, yeah, this is what's going to happen. We know, yawn. And the fact that it's now going to make him more of a sympathetic character. And I think Roman Reigns gains a lot more in defeat than he does in victory.
I want to touch on a couple of things. As of last night, I've actually become a Roman Reigns fan. I like the dude. He kind of had me. I liked it. I liked the Hell in a Cell match that he had with Bray Wyatt. But after last night, I don't know. I guess maybe WWE's got me with him now, and I like the dude, and I feel like tonight on Raw, I don't know exactly where it's going to be at. I feel like he's going to be over, and I feel like he's going to get a decent crowd reaction whenever he comes out tonight.
And that will be the way to go, man. Maybe build up to him winning the title, maybe at the Royal Rumble. Maybe that's when he finally gets his moment to shine, and then whoever wins the Rumble will face him at WrestleMania. That would be a good way to go. We don't need a lengthy Sheamus title run, and if they weren't going to turn Reigns heel if they wanted to keep him as a babyface, this was probably the best way to do it. Because you've got to make him a sympathetic character, because unintentionally he can come off like a grade A dick, and he needs to, if he's not going to turn on Dean Ambrose, he and Ambrose need to stay as best friends, because their chemistry together is fantastic. So maybe when Rollins comes back in 9 months to a year, he comes back as a babyface, and the three of them reconcile, and the three of them start tearing shit up as a group of babyfaces. Who knows? I don't know. But yeah, I think it will. A lot will depend on what happens at Raw tonight. But if the whole point, if Vince McMahon is so just stuck to this idea that Roman Reigns is going to be the big babyface champion, then this is the way. This is the only way to make it happen.
Yeah, I agree, and they're going to end up building it up. And personally, I feel like I was talking to my buddy about this last night, and I think once they're going to give Reigns, and they're going to have Reigns and the inevitable Reigns and Sheamus match, I think it's actually going to be a pretty damn good match, because these two guys, they're really stiff, and especially I've noticed a few things about Roman Reigns over the past year, especially whenever he had that match with Brock Lesnar. If you go back and watch that match, they just beat the living hell out of each other. There's no wrestling shots, quote unquote. They're hitting each other. If you noticed it last night with Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns, it seemed like they just went out there, and Roman Reigns was like, "Dude, give me what you got. Come on, just lay it into me, man." And you know that he's probably going to go up to Sheamus and say, "Dude, let's put on a fucking match. Let's beat the hell out of each other." I think it's going to be an all right match. It's probably going to end up happening at TLC, and they're probably going to have some kind of a. I don't want to say it's going to be a tables match. It seemed like it would be a ladder match, but you never know. I think it's going to be an all right match, though. Personally, I know probably people will shit on that, but man, I don't know.
Yeah, Sheamus's problem has always had more to do, at least in the last few years, has had way more to do with personality than in-ring ability. When he was still a babyface and he was the U.S. champion, he had a series of matches with Cesaro that were fantastic. Now, I know someone has a great match with Cesaro. Shocker. But Sheamus can hold his own and can have really good matches with the right people.
Earlier this year?
Yeah, I think it was earlier this year. No,
later last year.
Later last year, yeah.
Before Rusev took the belt from him, right?
Yeah, it was pre-Rusev.
Awesome. Yes, I know which matches you're talking. Yes, those matches were fantastic.
Yeah, and I would love to see. I think if we're going to keep, if Cesaro wasn't hurt, and if the plan was to keep the title on Sheamus for a while, I think you do a Sheamus Cesaro program at some point, and that could still happen. I mean, you could still do that down the line someday, because those guys had really a really good match. But yeah, let's see. Okay, so here's real quick something I just saw on. This was posted to the official Botchamania fan page. Update on decision to make Sheamus WWE champion. According to Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer Radio, the decision to make Sheamus the champion last night was decided upon just hours before the show. The reason the company did not want to make Reigns the champion is because they did not want the fans to boo him as the champion, and believes the crowd would cheer for him while booing Sheamus as the champion. So, last minute decision. They need to stop doing that, man. Way too many, if that is true, way too many last minute decisions.
Maybe they do it to stop leaks.
Yeah, I mean, that I could see that, but there's also got to be if J.J. Abrams can keep a closed set on the most anticipated movie in cinema history and prevent things from leaking out, I think Vince McMahon and the WWE should be able to hold on to some match information and for a while. One would think. I mean, granted, WWE doesn't have Disney money, but they're still a multi-billion-dollar corporation. You would think, you know?
WWE completely blew it with Sting, man. I knew Sting was going to be at Survivor Series a week before it happened. It kind of bummed me out, because I should have been like, I should stay off the dirt sheets and whatever, but nope. I had to get on the dirt sheets, and I found out Sting was going to be there, and, had I not known, had I not been keeping up with the dirt sheets and whatnot, that would have been an epic moment. I mean, I still marked for Sting when he came out, last year for Survivor Series, but...
Yeah, I didn't know he was going to be there, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was just, like, the thing is like with WWE, like I've told you this before, you never know what the hell they're going to do. So, like, you don't know until it actually happens. And that's the best part about it. But maybe they're just doing that to stop leaks. I mean, but yeah, I'm with you, man. They do need to have some kind of consistency going into these. That way they can, that's kind of what they did with Brock Lesnar and the streak, too. They ended up changing that decision, a few hours before it. I want to say Shawn Michaels said that on Talk is Jericho podcast or a Stone Cold podcast. I can't really remember, but yeah, some last-minute decisions. No bueno.
Yeah, not kosher. So that was Survivor Series. I think, again, overall, I agree with you. I think this is about a C. None of the matches were spectacular. I think the best match of the night would be, as far as just match quality, the Ambrose-Owens match, followed by the Ambrose-Reigns match. Most entertaining part was all the stuff with the New Day. The Undertaker was fun for what it was. I will say I forgot to mention this during that elimination, the Survivor Series match, but that spot of Ryback jumping off the top rope onto everyone on the floor, that was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I liked that. But an ending I will give it one thing. It was an ending I wasn't expecting, and so that was kind of nice. And I think there will be good that comes out of this ending, I hope. More than anything else, I really want to see that hair again on Xavier Woods. That was
he's rocked the perm before, but this perm was pretty nice looking now.
During pay-per-views, a lot of times he will come out with something special done with his hair. He's amazing. Speaking of the New Day, real quick, I saw a clip of CM Punk was somewhere on some panel, probably at some Comic-Con thing, and was asked when was the last time he actually watched a full, wrestling show, and he's like, well, I haven't watched one like start to finish in years, but that he does watch all of the New Day segments and loves them, and he said, it's great, it's these guys, they should have done this years ago. He's like, I don't know Xavier as much, but Biggie and Kofi, I've known them for a long time, and they're fantastic. Everything they do is great. So yeah, high praise from CM Punk. And,
I've seen that interview, and I mean, he hit the nail on the head. He basically said, that's what you need to do in WWE is to go out and do your own thing, and if it's over with the crowd, you're going to get over with Vince. I mean, that's
that's true. I think New Day it just ended up working, and you can almost point all of it back. It was the night after WrestleMania, that crowd in, I forget what city it was in, but when they were because New Day hadn't turned heel yet, the crowd was just shitting on them, and when Xavier kept pounding on the mat, the crowd was responding with chanting in that rhythm, New Day sucks. And that started it all, and they have just been on absolute fire ever since. So yeah, they're best thing going on. Well, neither one of us watched Breaking Ground, so since really Breaking Ground seems to premiere either after a pay-per-view or after Raw, so we'll just talk about last night's Breaking Ground. We'll talk about that next week. because that's when we would have talked about it anyway had it been on its normal time. Let's talk about NXT. How's that?
Oh, that's great.
Okay. So NXT this week opened with Carmella against Nia Jax. Nia Jax did some good little trash talking. This match, though, I thought was boring.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I mean, it was just a typical, it wasn't really a squash match, but I mean, it was kind of an extended squash match, I guess you would call it. But it's weird that they're already kind of throwing Carmella out there to Nia Jax. I mean, have they already ran out of jobbers for her?
Well, I think, yeah, and some of it is Carmella kind of plays the role of, she is that one level above the jobber that occasionally gets the win, but for the most part is there. She's better than a jobber, but not good enough to be an actual contender, and she's fed to people. Carmella's whole thing is, I mean, she's really there to be there with Cass and Enzo. She's not a
valet, right?
Yeah, she's not a very good wrestler, really. She's an okay talker, but when you put her with Cass and Enzo, there's just this magic with the three of them. And so yeah, this was a boring match, not very good. I'm not a huge fan of Nia Jax's finisher, that standing spine buster into a leg drop of doom. I mean, the leg drop of doom sucked when Hulk Hogan did it as a finisher, and I understand that Nia Jax is, and this isn't a slight on her or an insult, but she is about 2 to 3 times the size of the average woman in the women's division. So if she drops a leg drop on you, it is probably going to knock your ass out. That having been said,
I like her. I like the bear hug that she does.
Yeah, her bear hug is fantastic. Yeah, her bear hug is quite good. But yeah, it was a match. Then we had Alexa Bliss doing a backstage promo with Blake and Murphy behind her, brilliantly responding to things that she was saying, kind of miming, doing. She is such a good talker, Alexa, and Blake and Murphy are perfect, just being her muscle. A ref showed up and said, "Oh, hey, by the way, your match with Bayley tonight, Blake and Murphy can't be there, or banned from ringside." They get mad. Alexa gets mad. She's like, "Whatever," and gets them to calm down. I think this girl has a future. She's getting better in the ring. She is so much better as a heel than she ever was as a babyface. And pairing her with Blake and Murphy really works.
Her facial expressions are just great.
Oh my God, I know. And she
knows how to show the feeling for sure.
Oh yeah. And she gets great facial expressions out of Blake and Murphy. They've just putting them together has just been fantastic. And if they ever come up to the main roster, I would want them to come up as a package deal. That's another all three of them. They need to come up together. Let's see what happened next. Oh, the Ascension versus Jason Jordan and Chad Gable. My God, Full Sail University loves them, the Ascension.
Yeah, and I feel like I was telling my friend last night, I was like, I guess it's just because like none of my other friends like I can get them to watch wrestling, but like none of them watch NXT, so they really don't know who the hell the Ascension is. And I'm like, dude, I guess I'm the only person that likes the Ascension. I guess it's just because they hit that main roster and they just basically look like complete shit jobbers, and I guess it's them kind of ripping off the Legion of Doom / Road Warriors. Doesn't really help them all that much, but gosh, I love me some Ascension.
See, I liked when the Ascension had, because it started out kind of with the whole kind of demonic thing, and then that got stripped away for them just being these kind of badasses. And they didn't have face paint; they just wore their ripped up T-shirts. And then when they got to the main roster, they put that stupid shoulder crap on. They got the terrible face paint, and it just really screwed them up. I don't think they were ever going to do that well on the main roster, honestly. but they are just beloved in Full Sail, and they look like they are having so much fun, and their matches are 1,000 times better in Full Sail. I mean, even if you think about, they've had some matches with the Lucha Dragons on the main roster that have been pretty suck ass. You go back to the matches they had in NXT; those were great.
The Lucha Dragons were the one who ended the Ascension's year-long streak as NXT champ.
Exactly. But this match, it was funny because, Jordan and Gable are super over, but they could not beat the Ascension Homecoming as far as overness. But this was a really good match, lots of fun. Jordan and Gable get the win, which is what should have happened. And what was funny is after the match, as Gable and Jordan are standing in the ring celebrating, the crowd is chanting "Welcome back" to the Ascension. That crowd was on fire, man, for good and for bad.
Yeah, I like that. Full Sail's they got it all right. They're all right, but there's sometimes where it can be kind of marked for themselves.
Yeah.
We heard them chant "We are awesome."
The first time I heard that, I thought it was pretty hilarious.
I guess it's probably because it was a boring ass match that was going on at the time. But to their credit, there has been a bunch of really good chants. There was one at a pay-per-view where Finn Balor was going to do this stomp, or he was doing this move off the Titantron or something, and they were just "Please don't die."
Yes.
Please don't die. Okay. Oh, that was great.
Yeah, that one was great. I love that. Please don't die. And I remember when Balor came out the first time in the paint, and it made up, they were chanting "marking out." They were just going freaking nuts. But yeah, so we then had a Bayley Alexa Bliss vignette, which segued into a Bayley backstage interview. Bayley's just great. She's slightly awkward, but so lovable. We then had Emma in a match against Mary Kate, or is it Mary Kay? I don't know. I think it's Mary Kate because at one point I'm pretty sure one of the announcers asked where the other Olsen twin was. This match was just there. Emma won with the Emma lock. Yeah, apparently Mary Kate, she learned from Bubba Ray and Devon at their school, and used to be 130 pounds larger. So yeah, good for her, losing weight, getting in better shape. We then had highlights of the whole Baron Corbin Apollo Crews stuff, and which culminated with a Baron Corbin backstage promo on Crews, which he challenged Crews to a match at TakeOver. It was, Corbin's still working on his delivery of stuff, but it was, I liked the content in that it was just, I don't like you, and I'm gonna kick your ass.
Yeah, he's actually, I told you earlier that I'm a Roman Reigns fan, but Baron Corbin, he's actually getting better on on his promos and stuff like that, and maybe that's kind of what Roman Reigns needed was a little bit of time down in NXT, before he hit the main roster. Was if they were Shield whenever they were in NXT, or were they just Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins?
No, the Shield did form in NXT, and it was in NXT for a while before they came up to the main roster. But they were, all three of them were there back when it was still FCW. And in fact, Ambrose... Oh, go ahead.
Ambrose and Rollins had great FCW matches.
I tell you, that is... Why is that stuff not on the network? Can we...
That's weird.
So, all of that TV, the old OVW stuff that had, Cena and Orton and Batista and Brock Lesnar and Shelton Benjamin, why is that stuff not on the network? I mean, since OVW is still an organization that's out there, maybe they don't own the rights to it, but I don't know, man. To me, that's stuff that needs to be on the network. The OVW stuff, FCW, pretty much any TV that they made in their developmental leagues over the years would just be fascinating to watch.
A lot of that stuff now, they're putting that stuff on DVDs and stuff like that, and I guess maybe to give people incentive to go out and buy the DVDs and have the network. Like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
because their matches are like, they have like a, I don't know if you've seen I can't remember, the Destruction of the Shield is the DVD of the title, and it's great. Like, they've got like a bunch of the Shield matches leading up to the breakup. They've got a bunch of like when he was just Liaki Reigns, stuff like that. A lot of Dean Ambrose and William Regal. Man, they had a hell of a rivalry down in FCW.
Huh? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they put on a hell of a match, and there's been a couple of Ambrose and Rollins matches, man, that they just set the house on fire down there in FCW.
I'd heard about those. I've seen the documentary that went with that DVD. I haven't seen like all of the matches and whatnot. I'll have to try to track that down at some point. Yeah. So let's continuing on with the show. It was Dash Wilder and Scott Dawson versus a couple of uber generic scrubs, Corey Hollis and John Schuyler. Dash and Dawson win in a boring match. But the more and more I see Dash and Dawson, the more I like them.
They're just becoming monsters, and I like it.
Yeah, I do too. But that match was just boring. We then say what?
They just love beating the hell out of people. It's great.
They do. We then had Asuka doing a backstage interview with Tom Phillips, as he's now, I guess, taken over Devin Taylor's old job. Poor guy, man. He did commentary for on Raw a few times. He did SmackDown for a while. Oh, hey, we're going to have you just stand here backstage at Full Sail. But, hey, at least he's still got a paycheck. And
they want a guy.
Yeah. So Asuka, he starts out asking her about her masks. Dana Brooke comes out, challenges Asuka to a match. At that point, Asuka finally takes off her mask and accepts. She leaves. Tom Phillips leaves. Emma shows up, and they're conspiring. I guess Asuka and Dana Brooke have a match next week. We'll see what happens. I suspect there's going to be a double beatdown at some point.
Did you see the part in the interview where she tried to pat Tom Phillips on the head? She had to like reach up to pat him.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Like, moments like that, you miss Devin Taylor.
Yeah, and I love how she got, so she's like, the worst part was you patted me on the head when she said that to Asuka, which is just hilarious. All right, so we then had a Samoa Joe filmed outside promo somewhere, probably just like down the street from Full Sail. And it was announced that Joe and Balor will have a match at TakeOver London. They're going to do a contract signing next week. That should be interesting. We then had the main event, Alexa Bliss versus Bayley for the NXT Women's Championship. My God, Bayley is so freaking over. I love those, hey, we want some Bayley chants. It was a pretty good match, I thought, really. Bayley got the win. And then comes out Eva Marie.
Your favorite, Dave?
God damn it, she is awful. And the worst thing, and I know, okay, I'm sure she has lots of experience walking in heels, and I'm sure walking in heels down an incline is not easy, but she looked like she was going to fall over at any second. Even when she got in the ring, it's like you could just blow some wind toward her, and she would topple over.
Okay.
But she does this whole grand spin, and she keeps trying to talk, and the crowd will not shut up. And Bayley just looks like she's about to laugh. At one point, I swear, Bayley and Eva Marie, like, they connected eyes, and Eva Marie looked like she was about to start laughing. I have a feeling that backstage she might even know that she's a big fat joke. After trying 3 times, eventually she got out this either horribly written or just horribly recited lines challenging Bayley to a match next week, which, have you heard the spoilers?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I won't spoil you.
I mean, that's fine. I've actually there's one spoiler that I have read, though.
What's
about
that?
the NXT tag champs. I want to say it was Enzo and Cass are the number one contenders now.
Oh, okay, good. That'll actually be a good. That should be good because they need to have a feud. So that was it. Eva Marie is awful. Some other NXT news. At the tapings this last week, Austin Aries was cited. Apparently, also Gunner was there. James Storm was there, but he actually was in a match. And then there was a picture that was floating around of someone who amazingly looked like AJ Styles, but apparently AJ wasn't there. But Austin Aries coming into NXT, that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's gonna be great because I don't know. I feel like we're on a big move in wrestling. We're about to see a whole bunch of new guys that we haven't seen come into WWE. We're about to see them. Personally, I want to see Jay Lethal come in sometime soon.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be. I mean, okay, so, and I can't remember if we've probably talked about this before, but who cares? You pick 5 guys that aren't in WWE that you could bring in right now.
Jay Lethal, for sure, would be one of my guys at the top of the list. EC3, I would bring him in from TNA, even though I really can't stand TNA. He does great heel work over there. Let's see. I would definitely bring the Young Bucks over for sure. Got to bring Adam Cole, Roderick Strong. I know that's way more than 5, but
well, we can count the Young Bucks as one. But yeah, that's with Roderick Strong, that's 5 right there. So, I would say.
Of course, I'd love to see Shinsuke Nakamura.
I was actually just thinking of Nakamura, but they wouldn't know what the hell to do with him. Just like Okada, but Okada has straight up said, "I don't want to go to WWE. I am New Japan and New Japan only," which is good for him. But I would say my top picks are Adam Cole, AJ Styles, the Young Bucks, Jay Lethal, and I don't know, the 5th one, it just kind of depends. I mean, I like Eric Young, but I don't know that he would work. Maybe I like Bobby Roode. I think Bobby Roode would be a better fit than Eric Young would in NXT. EC3 I think would be great. Maybe let's go real random. Grado from over in England, or I guess he's pretty freaking awesome. He just recently won the ICW Insane Championship Wrestling. That's in like an Irish or a British promotion. Where Balor made a name for himself long ago. He's now their champion. Drew Galloway was their champion for a while. I would say bring in Galloway, but WWE's already proven they don't know what to do with him. And he kind of like Del Rio. He's a guy that I think is just better off outside of WWE. Oh, you know what? Okay, hold on. I'm redoing my list. Adam Cole, AJ Styles, the Young Bucks, Matt Cross, a.k.a. Son of Havoc from Lucha Underground, and Ricochet.
Oh, Ricochet would be awesome.
And my number 6 is Angelico, and then Jay Lethal.
Yeah, pretty good list.
Yeah. So that was it. Speaking of TNA and Ring of Honor, I know you haven't had a chance to watch Ring of Honor, but we'll go over that real quick before we call it a day. Both TNA and Ring of Honor have new TV homes. So TNA is going to Pop TV, which used to be the TV Guide Network, which apparently is in a decent number of homes. They're going to move to Tuesday nights. And then Ring of Honor is going to Comet TV, to which everyone goes, what the fuck is that? It is a Sinclair-owned network. It is right here locally. If you're in Oklahoma, it is channel, if you've got an off-air antenna, 34.3. So I guess our local CW affiliate is owned by Sinclair. So that's where that will live. It's going to have, it's also on some cable networks. It's got a pretty good outreach, but really, I think this is, for TNA, it is good news in the fact that they're not dead. For Ring of Honor, it's a step down. But I think Ring of Honor still has a lot of potential. And I think we're going to see the tide of wrestling change and become more popular again. Once WWE works out some shit and starts having, better shows, which of course Survivor Series wasn't a good one, but I think NXT is going to help raise more awareness of other organizations, and hopefully Ring of Honor will eventually get a better deal, or Sinclair will actually put it on one of its cable networks, put some more money behind it, and maybe even at some point we'll see Evolve and PWG and some of these other things get actual regular television. Or what I would love is for someone to come out and create basically a WWE network for independents. And I know New Japan has their version, but it's all in Japanese. Ring of Honor has a lot of stuff you can buy through their website, but they don't have a service. If someone, like a contract that was, maybe you get WWN, which I know they're kind of now working with WWE, so that probably wouldn't happen. Hell, maybe Evolve can get their stuff on the WWE network. That would be awesome. But if you had, PWG, Ring of Honor, AAA, maybe even New Japan, some place where fans, we could get a subscription for $9-10 a month, be able to follow the weekly shows, maybe even see the pay-per-views or the iPay-per-views, and not have to go to these third-party websites to follow this stuff. As I do that, and there's part of me that feels bad. I don't mind, doing it for WWE, because fuck it, they got enough money. But I feel kind of bad, and which kind of segues in. Well, go ahead.
With WWE, they get my $10 a month, so that's good enough for me.
Yeah. But I mean, if there was a service out there that was basically like the WWE Network, but was a whole bunch of these other indie promotions, and maybe even get some of the European ones, get ICW and some of the other big ones that worked together, that had that basically worked like the WWE Network, had a 24-hour thing plus an on-demand, say for $10 a month. I would buy it, when I'm not broke.
I know ICW has an on-demand service.
Oh, they do? Okay.
I want to say that AAA, I may be wrong on this, but I want to say that AAA has like free shows and stuff that you can watch on YouTube and stuff like that. Can't think. I want to say Chikara Pro, they have kind of like an on-demand service. CZW, have you ever heard of them? Combat Zone. They have an on-demand service too, and I want to say that they're actually paired with like 2 or 3 other indie promotions too. I may be wrong. I seen this big list on Reddit yesterday, and they were just like basically list of like all of like the on-demand like networks, like New Japan, WWE Network, just shit like that.
Okay. It would be really nice if someone put together one that had
just everything.
Yeah.
It's like yeah.
And because I think that would be a win for everybody. But that's just me. I've decided that going forward, I know that the Ring of Honor is still, I think it's going to be on Wednesday nights at midnight. And as far as I know, it's still on Saturdays will be the debut of the episode, which will be the syndicated one. The following Wednesday, which is the episodes that have been on Destination America, will be the one on Comet TV. And then actually the next Saturday is when that episode hits their website. I've just decided I'm just going to watch them after they hit the Ring of Honor website, because for one thing, the stuff on Destination America has been shortened. So like this week's episode, there was the story time with Adam Cole and a couple extra Silas Young and the Boys vignettes were not shown on Destination America, but were on the syndicated version and the version on the Ring of Honor website. So since it's still going to kind of follow the same broadcast pattern. By the time when we do the shows on Mondays, we'll pretty much, if it's cool with you, we're just going to review whatever episode hit their website on Saturday.
So the most recent one?
The most recent episode on there that's on the Ring of Honor website. I think that would be the easiest way to do it.
That's cool with me.
Okay. And
one thing that's going to bum me out is if they end up actually and this is totally dumb, but like, it always cracks me up when I see Jay Lethal do the promos for the knee braces.
Oh God, those are great.
Kick out, wrestling fans. Your back pain got you down. It's like, dude can cut a promo on a knee brace and make it sound convincing.
He is so good. He is so good. I think they're going to, if they're smart, they're going to keep that title on him for quite a long time. So speaking of, Ring of Honor this week opened up with a vignette of Silas Young teaching the boys how to change a tire on a car and then drive stick. Holy shit, it was funny. You've got to go back and watch this episode. This was a really good episode. There's one point they're like, the boys are, well, at one point they're messing with the jack, and Silas gets down there and he says, "No, I said to jack it up," and then he looks at the camera. It was such a great moment. But there's this part where one of the boys is like trying to wipe off some grease off the other one's face with a rag, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And then one of them pulls out hand sanitizer. He's like, "We don't use sanitizer, we use manitizer." And he grabs his hand, he spits in the boy's hand. He's like, "Wipe that, rub that together. That's manitizer." It was freaking hilarious. First match of the night was Silas Young and the Beer City Bruiser against War Machine. There was a "Free the Boys" chant at one point. The Beer City Bruiser, I swear to God, a few times in this match, his tights almost came off.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yes, not pretty. But he did a frog splash off the top rope at one point. War Machine got the win. They're going to be challenging for the tag team titles at Final Battle in December. Raymond Rowe, that guy is strong. He picked up the Beer City Bruiser a number of times. Just straight up, like, it was just pretty impressive. We then had, let's see here, replays of the whole BJ Whitmer, Steve Corino stuff from a few weeks ago. Nigel McGuinness is in the ring. Steve Corino comes out. Nigel says that he cannot reinstate Corino as a competitor, but he can as a wrestler, and that at Final Battle, Corino will have a match against BJ Whitmer in a fight without honor. Corino then gets on the mic, cuts a promo announcing that he has to have neck surgery. A few of his vertebrae have to be fused together, and that his career is over, his in-ring career. Basically says that he hopes that this isn't goodbye, and leaves the ring. On his way out, he and Kevin Kelly hug, and leaves to a chance of "Thank you, Steve." It was actually really sad. So we're not ever going to get a payoff to the whole BJ Whitmer, Steve Corino thing. I don't even know if he's going to come back. I hope after he recovers that he comes back as an announcer, because he and Kevin Kelly are so good together.
So there's 0% chance that this is a work.
No, he legitimately had surgery.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping, because I really like the build that they had going into this. It kind of blows a little bit.
Yeah, it's sad. Apparently, Corino has been having issues with numbness in his hand. His neck's been hurting. Went and had an MRI, and it just was bad. He's got the news he didn't want to get. So that sucked. Then Michael Elgin came out. He had a match against some behemoth guy named Kevin Lee Davidson, whose ring attire looked like a combination between the tights that Rusev wears and Samoa Joe wears. Really strange. Elgin won with a clothesline. I mean, this match was literally 30 seconds. He clotheslined the fuck out of this guy, and got the win.
It was a squash match.
Yeah, it was a squash match. Elgin then got on the mic, cut a promo about the world title, how he wants a shot. And then we had one of the absolute best matches of the week. Probably the second best match of the week, in my opinion. The first best match of the week was that phenomenal Cesaro-Roman Reigns match from last Monday's Raw, which we didn't talk about that, but what do you think of that match?
That was an awesome match. That was a match of you talking about the Reigns and Cesaro match?
Yeah, Reigns and Cesaro.
Yeah, that was a badass match, and even Meltzer came out and said it was a great match. I think he gave it 4 stars, 3.5, 4 stars, something like that.
Oh, it was easily a 4-star match, I think.
Match.
Yeah, but this so the main event on Ring of Honor this week was the Addiction challenging the Kingdom for the tag team titles, and this was fucking hilarious because they were just trying to out-cheat each other. At one point, Matt Taven did just a ridiculous dive. There was a spot where one person after another was diving out of the ring, and Matt Taven ended it with just this unbelievable dive that it looked like he almost just landed on his face. It was awesome. And there's at one point, Kazarian and Taven are in the ring, and Daniels and Bennett are outside the ring, and both Kazarian and Taven both each have a belt, one of the tag belts in their hand, and they're looking around, and the ref starts to get in the ring. They both throw the belts down and fall down, acting like they both just got hit. So they pulled Eddie Guerrero. And probably when this was filmed was probably close to the time of the anniversary of Eddie's death, so I'm sure that was some of it. And so they're both laying there on the ground, and the ref turns to Taven and he starts counting, and Kazarian sits up and is mocking Taven, and Maria's on the outside of the ring screaming, he's faking, and Kazarian's just pointing and just mouthing stuff off, and then as soon as the ref starts to turn, he lays back down, oh my head, and then so the ref starts counting on Kazarian, and Chris Sabin's on the outside of the ring just freaking out, and Taven sits up and he starts doing the same thing, pointing at him, mocking him, and then the ref starts to turn around again and he lays back down. And then at some point the ref sees Taven sitting up, and you've got to watch this. And then both he and Taven and Kazarian are on their knees, kind of yelling at each other. And Maria goes, "Oh my God, what are you, a bunch of girls?" It was so funny. Eventually Maria and Chris Sabin get ejected from ringside. Just really freaking good match. Things fall apart. Maria comes back out to get involved, and to which she ends up getting her hair pulled by Christopher Daniels. I guess they have a bad history. And then she swiftly kicks him in the nards, and then gives him a super kick. And then whoever it is that has been in the KRD mask lately comes out and super kicks one of the Addiction, I can't remember, and the Kingdom get the win. It was just a fantastic match. Super fun. What was great about it is, it's 2 heel teams, so who is the crowd going to root for? And all 4 of these guys are fucking characters, man. And I've for the longest time I've thought Matt Taven's kind of a joke, not his wrestling ability, but just his character. This whole, heavy metal, hair metal, Shawn Michaels kind of dude. But this match really, they won me over. This match was fantastic. Second best match of the week, 4-star match, easy. You got to go back and watch it. It was great. And the whole story time with Adam Cole was really good. He was talking about the title, of course, and it ended up talking about the AJ Styles Jay Lethal match that's going to happen at Final Battle. So next week on Ring of Honor, the main event is going to be Roderick Strong facing Jay Lethal for the World Television title. should be a great freaking match. And that was it for Ring of Honor. So it was another really good show.
I'm gonna go back and check it out for sure. I always go, like, even if I miss Ring of Honor and I'll read online what happened, you always got to go back and check out the matches. Ring of Honor puts on the best matches on TV.
Oh yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Well, I think that's it. So we got Raw tonight. We'll see what happens with the fallout of Survivor Series, and we'll go from there. You got any final thoughts before we head out of here?
It's going to be interesting to see what goes on Raw tonight, for sure. Definitely looking forward to it. Hopefully Cesaro's not as hurt as what is being led on, and hopefully we can get to speedy recovery and comes back, because we've got too many injuries going on right now in WWE. So.
Yeah, so many freaking injuries. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. So that's going to do it for this week. Don't forget to check us out on all the different social medias. The handle there is Around the Ring OK. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, shoot us an email, aroundtheringok@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. We don't ever get email. It's sad. Please, someone. Talk to us. Anybody. And that's going to do it. So, Jason, thank you as always. It was lots of fun. We will talk next week. And everyone, take care of yourselves and each other.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Damn! Woo!
This sucks more than anything that I've ever fucked before.
What? It's for charity.